Hi guys, I'm Satya from Edureka. Welcome to the session of Android. If you can hear me, can you quickly acknowledge in the questions panel? Great. Yeah, I can see you guys in the questions panel. All right, I want you guys to enjoy this session. Now the second agenda, now you're familiar with your Android, you're familiar with your activity, you know how to write your application and religiously you have said hello and you're quite comfortable that your application works. Now is the time for you to go deeper into Android. In this session, you guys are going to concentrate on the event listeners. Now, just as an example, in the previous session that we got the button, and you guys are going to learn how exactly the button works now. Like if someone clicks on the button, how do you listen to it? And we'll be implementing the logcat right into the button. Now, whenever you click on the button, my logcat is going to tell you all that you clicked on the button. This is what you guys are going to learn under the event listeners. Now, then comes the most interesting part that happens to be the intents. Now, intent happens to be the spine of your Android. The intent takes birth at the kernel. Now, in kernel, normally we call that as a binders. Now, to call an activity, we use the intent. And apart from that, I'll be teaching you how exactly to take a deep dive into intent and how formally, how professionally that we all can use intent in Android. Now, how to call the Android components like your geocoders, the Google Map, and your Google Chrome can be called, the dialers can be called. All this happens to be the component of Android, and you guys are going to learn how to call all those components using the intents. So far, this is what we intend to learn in your session 2. And after that, I'm going to clarify your doubts. All right, guys, let's take a plunge and let's get started. Now guys, it's time for us to move on to event listeners, and this is going to be the most interesting part of this session, and this is where you're going to learn how to call many activities, and you guys are going to learn how to call activities with the implicit and explicit intents, and you're going to learn how to make an activity as a standalone activity, wherein the others from the different process boundary can also use your activity. All right, guys, let's start with event listeners. So far, we wrote a program to have a text being displayed on the screen, and we had the button. Now, let us see how to grab the event. If somebody clicks on the button, how do I get to know that if somebody has clicked on the button? So let's get to understand how exactly this works. Now, in event listeners, we have various event listeners like on-click listeners. For example, when the user is going to click on the button, now we are going to override the on-click listener. This is called when the user either touches the item when in the touch mode. That means when the user touches the button, and we're going to grab the on-click listener. So as you have on-focus change and you have on long click. Now when you come to the screen and hold it for a long time and you want a context menu to pop up, so probably those cases we use the on long click. And on key, whenever you click on any of the keys, the on key will come in, and on touch will come in. You can have one touch, multiple touches to play the game. All those things is possible. Now this way we have many listeners. So as of now, I'm going to talk only about the on-click, and the rest of the listeners will be covered in the next couple of sessions. All right. Now to get going with this on-click, and I'm back to my code, and here you all can see this push me is right there. And when you click on push me, I want to say something. I want to print a text, right? So this is all that I want to do. Now let us see how to do that. Now here, all that I'm going to do here is I have to bring in push me. That is a button. Now let me use the button, and I'll declare the button, and I'm going to call this as push me is the name of the button. And now I'm going to use something called as find view by ID. Now by using this find view by ID, now this guy in turn is going to refer back to my resource. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to use my resource and I'm going to use my ID. Now guys, do remember we are already there in activity main because we have already moved from resource, we went to layout, and we went to the activity main. Now in activity main, now we are already there, and we have to be here in the button. Now to get the handle of this particular button, we need to declare an ID. Now let me say, for that I will opt for at plus ID. This is the identity to write your button. Now here I'm going to call this as push me button, and this is the identity of the button, and I'm going to use this identity of the button in the main program to get the handle of this particular button. All right, so I'm going to say or.id dot. The very minute I say, you all can see the handle you got. Activity main has one handle and push me button, and this is what we created just now, and let me get the handle of that. Now again, this guy is throwing up an error because he says he is recommending me to write the cast here in front of find view by ID. Now I'll click and I'll say cast to Android widget button. Okay, and this is what he brings in by himself. So when you're returning the address has to be known. It is of the type button, so you're casting it right there. Now you got the handle of the button. Now the next thing that what you guys will be doing here is use your push me dot, you can call set on click listener. Now if anybody clicks on the button, I want to be the listener. Now you're overriding a class called as new view. Now when you type capital V, you get this on click listener. This happens to be the function that what you're overriding. The very minute you override this on click listener, you're going to get this implementable function on click right here. So inside this, you can say whatever you want to say. You can say that somebody clicked on me, somebody pushed me, or whatsoever it is. Now, in this case, let me also use my log.d, and I'm going to use my tag. And here I'll say somebody pushed the button. All right, so this is what you want to say. Somebody pushed the button. Now, this is one way. Now you guys know that this is going to appear on your log. Now, instead, if you want to bring, instead of hello Edureka, I just want to bring in my message. How do you do that? That's fairly simple, very similar to push me. Again, you all can use your text view. Now, I'm just bringing in text view. Now, I'll call this as text view is equal to, no, I'll cast this text view this time myself, and I'm going to use my find view by ID and or dot ID dot. Obviously, you have to have a handle here for the text view. So there is no handle. So let me create the handle here. Now I'll say ID, and my handle is going to be text view. Now this is going to be the handle. Now what is that I'm going to do here is I'm just going to bring it, and you all can see this text view here, and I've got the handle to it. All right. Now the text view, this is what is going to point to my text, what I have in my activity main. Now here, you know what I can do? I can use my text view dot, I will call the setText function, and I will pass my string that is somebody pushed the button. All right. Now there are two ways of doing it. One is you're showing it in your log. The other way around is you're trying to show it in the text view that somebody clicked on the button. Now guys, this is what you call it as an event listener, right? This is what you call it as your event listener, and this is where you're overriding push me dot, you're overriding set on click listener. If somebody clicks on the button, now the control is going to come in here. You're creating new view on click listener. You're using this particular view object on click listener, and this brings in the implementable function. Now this is actually an interface. Now this is what you call it as an implementable function. Right inside this, you're trying to show a message in log. You're quite familiar to log as of now, and then you can even still display the message on your screen using your text view. All right, so let's see how this code will work as of now. Now I've got my logcat also here. Watch what happens. I'm just going to push that button. Now watch, I'm just going to press the button. Now somebody pushed the button, and in the log area, you all can see somebody pushed the button, right? So you can see it in the log as well as on the screen, both the areas you can see the message. Now this is what we call it as the event listeners. Guys, you have a problem here. Now you may ask me, what if I have many buttons? Now, for example, I've got button 1, and now I've got my next button. This is my button 2. We'll just call this as button 2, and I'm going to call this as button 2. All right, so this is what it is, right? So you all can see the push me button 2, and there is some problem here. Now I just want this guy to be straight like this, right? So I've got push me button 2. Now what is that I will do? You know what? I have to repeat the same program, meaning I have to copy this push me button, and see, it is all the cut and paste kind of a scenario. What I'll be doing now, here it is going to be button. Now it says 2. I'm going to check on this 2, right? So here this is going to be push me 2, right? Now, you know what I'm going to do? Under this, I'll say push me 2. Now set on click listener, right? So I'm bringing in set on click listener, and everything is going to be the same stuff all over again. And I'm going to bring this and again in log, and I'm going to bring in these 2 messages, control C. Now I'm going to paste it here. Now it says somebody push me on button 2 and somebody push me on button 2, right? So even this guy is going to work now. But if you see your applications like this, if you have 20 buttons in your application, if you have 10 buttons in your application, don't you think this is going to clutter up the entire screen? No, this is not a good way of writing program. Now this will start cluttering up the entire screen when you have so many functions, right? First, let us try to run this and see if the program works. Then if everything is all right, then we are going to bring a better way of writing program. Now, incidentally, you have to see 2 buttons here, and you have an option to click on any of the buttons, and that message has to come on top of the screen. All right, so you've got push me 2. I'm going to click on this, and you all can see somebody pushed on the button 2. Now, you can see in your logcat that somebody pushed me on button 2. Let me click on push me, and you all can see push me, somebody pushed on the button, and either of this, and you all can see it is displaying here, and even in this logcat, you're able to see the button has been used. All right, now let me do one thing. Now I told you this is not a good way of writing program. Now let me put a remark into all this, and then you know what I'm going to do? Instead of writing it here, okay, the way that we have written a program, now I'm going to implement an on-click listener. Now I will say implements. Now I'm just going to call my view dot on-click listener, and this is what I want to implement. Now this in turn is throwing an error, and let me see what he says. He tells me to implement a method, and I'll say okay. Now he is giving me a generalized on-click, and I'm going to say okay to it. All right. Now this is what he's bringing in, right? Now this is more comparatively, this is a better approach. Now let the user click on any number of buttons. The control is going to be here. Now let him have 1 button, 2 button, or 10 button. The control is going to come here. Now you all may ask me how. It's very simple. Now I'm going to use my switch, and I'll say view dot get ID, and here in this switch I'm going to figure out what did the user press. I'll say case r dot id dot, now you know we have button 1 button and break. Then you have again, I'll say case r dot id dot, so now you know it is button 2. Now I'm just going to click on this, and it is a button 2. And what is that you want me to do? Now here I can bring in my messages, that what I had written earlier. Now I can bring in my log or my text here, right here. Now I'm just going to copy this, and I'll just paste the entire thing right here, right? So this is what I'm trying to bring in. Now the user is clicking on the button. So here it is showing an error. Now obviously, because you have said the text you right here, right? Now he has also brought in the final. Now a better way, a good idea to do this is, I'm going to make this global, right? Control C. It's always good to make it global. Making it global. Then I'm going to call, okay, now here I'm going to remove this. So as even for button, I can make it global. So it'll be better because I'll be using the button everywhere. Now you had push me, push underscore me, comma, you had push underscore me too, right? So here I'll just take this guy out and I'm going to take this guy out, right? So you have this declarations here. Now it is the small letter and you're done and you're ready to go, right? So I've declared it global and here you will not get the error because it's been made global. Now I'm just going to bring in that functions here. All right, so this is going to be 2 and this is going to be 2. So that's about it. And when you run the program and this code is going to work. Now this is a better approach and this is a better way of bringing in the listeners for the multiple buttons. When you have too many buttons, and this is the best thing that what you could do. Right, so let's wait for the result. Now we are able to see the same screen. Now there's not much of difference, but you all can see. Now we have a small problem, that is it is not displaying the results, right? So now let me come here. No, log.t and text view. Okay, let me go back and see if I have text view is right there. Now text view, you got the handle and text view dot setxt and you are printing it. Right. Now let me recompile this because everything seems to be all right, but why is it not working? So it's good for you that the log, you should be able to see the log at least if this program is not working. I have got the text view here and text view on click. So here inside this we have gotten, okay, the case order push me button and button 2. Case or ID and the break, the log ID. Button push me. Yeah, everything seems to be all right. So we did a small mistake. See here, we have to set the listener, right? So we have the push me button here. And whenever somebody clicks on that, and we need to add the on-click listener to it. Now I've put everything in a remark and I just got out of it. Now I'll say set on-click listener. This time I'll just say this, meaning when anybody clicks on the button, so I'm already on click on my application itself that is pointing to this pointer, so that the on click is right there in this application. That is what is that you're trying to mention and you're trying to print it. And that was missing. That was the actual error. Now here I have to add this also. This button also I need to add an on click listener. Now because we never had the on click listener and that's the reason it didn't work, right? Now let me run this. Now the program is going to appear more like the same stuff, but only the functionalities that we have changed, right? So you all can see that somebody pushed on the button and somebody pushed on button 2. It is appearing here as well as in your log also. Both the places you're able to display it. So this way you can bring in any number of buttons that you want to use in your application. So this is a better way of writing an event listener, just in case if you have too many buttons. Now guys, it's time for us to learn about the intents. Now let us move on to intents and let us see how to go about it. Now let me go back to my slides. Now is it time for us to move on to intents. And in intents, now all it means is by using an intent, you can call from one activity, you can call the other activity. And that is where we are going to use intents. And slowly, the way that I'm going to take you towards, I'll be making the activities as components, and even without knowing name of the activity, you'll be able to call the activity. And that is what you guys are going to do. Now let's see how to create yet another activity and how to call the activity. Now let us move on to that and let us see how to do that, right? So here you all can see an intent is a messaging object you can use to request an action from other app component, meaning you can call from the first activity, you can call the second activity. At the same time, if you have any messages, text, objects, even that can be passed on to the other activity, right? So methods are used to deliver intents to different components. Now, in fact, the activity is being broadly classified. It is being divided into services, broadcast, and many of the other components. And while sending the message, you can use context.start activity, or you can start a service, or you can send a message to the broadcast. Now, these things that we're going to see it in the later stages. Now, in today's session, we are going to see how to call an activity alone, right? Now again, in intents, you have implicit intent and you have explicit intent. Guys, even before I move on to the implicit intent and explicit intent, I would love to show you what exactly an intent is all about and how to use an intent. All right. Now, I'm going to show you, I'm going to teach you about various flavors of intent, how to use the intent in many different ways. Now, let me show you how to do that. Now for that, let me go back to the code. Let me do it quickly so that will give you a very good insight into intents. Now let me go back to my text. Now here I have the push me button 1. Now let me call this as, okay, now I'm going to change all this stuff. I don't want this to be called as the push me button. Now let me give a name to it. Let me call this guy as, now I just want to dial a number, right? So that is what I'm going to use. Now the second button that what I'm going to use is I'm going to call a toast. You guys are going to learn something new. And here in this, I don't want the string as of now. I'll say dial a number is what I just want to display. And here I don't want anything. Toast is all that I want to display. Now like this, let me create 5 more buttons, and that is what you guys are out to learn in today's session. 3, 5. So we have stopped at toast. All right. Now, you know what? I'm going to bring in something called as show location. Now here, let me call this as, so this in turn is going to take you to the Google map and it is going to show you some location of your choice. Now that is what we are going to do in my show location. Now here I'll call open web page. Now I'll call this as open web page. Now this can be Google or whatever you want to open. It can be that. Now here I'm going to call something called as view intent. This is going to be very interesting. Now this is where you're going to call this as a generalized and common intent. Now comes there's another interesting stuff. I'm going to call this as let's get professionals. Let's get professionals. Now this is what it is. Now this is what you guys will be dealing with in today's session. All right. Now this is an amazing stuff and you're going to learn how to use the intent in many different ways. All right. Now we have the buttons ready. Now let us go to the main activity, and I have to bring in, no, it is not my push me, you know very well, it is not push me. Now we have used a couple of other things here, right? So it is going to be dial the phone and toast and show location, right? So open web page. All these things will be very simple and very easy for you to understand. And view intent, right? Then let's get let's get professional, right? So this is all that what we'll be using. Now here the text view, let this guy be there. And here in the first button, now you're going to use dial phone. And instead of dot push me, you know when I type D, you're going to get this. Now the second button, it's fairly simple. As you all can see now, once if you write this program, you will be very comfortable throughout, right? You'll be learning how to get the handles of all the objects. Now show location, right? So yeah, no, second is the toast. So I'll say toast comes in here, right? Now comes, let me copy this. it another 4 times. Right, so it is not toast again. Now show location, and let me call show location, and here it is going to be open web page, and I'm going to call this as view intent, and this is going to be view intent. Right, so ID dot. So just type V, the view intent comes in there. And here there is a problem. So it is, oh yeah, the typo. No, it is view intent, right? So yeah. And now the final one is going to be let's get pro. And dot let's get. No, it should come by itself, right? So why is that is not coming? Dot let's, where is that? Let's get pro. There's some problem here. We have everything, and oh, capital L. No, why capital? Everywhere we are using the small letter. So let me dot let's get pro. So right, so we are right there. So I have declared all this. Now here I have just to bring in the monotonous stuff. Now as you all started, now it is going to be dial the phone that you're going to bring in here, and set on click listener, and you're going to bring in toast. Toast is something new that you're going to learn, and then yet another 4 stuff that what you're going to bring in here. 1, 2, 3, 4. That's about it. Now here we have to change this to show location, and we are going to add a listener for your open web page, and we're going to add a listener again for your view intent. And the final one is let's get pro. The word itself sounds exciting, right? So that's about it. Now here inside this we have to change. No, we are not interested in any of the stuff that what you have done so far, and I don't need this. I can even delete this. Even I don't need this two stuff. And here, as you all know, the first one was dot dial a number, and now the second one was your dot toast. All right, so now I'm just going to copy this 4 times. All right, so 1, 2, 3, 4. And here I don't want the toast. Now next to the toast is your show location, right? So show location. And after the show location, we had your open web page. And after the open web page, you had your view intent, right? So view intent. And after that, yeah, that's about it. And we had let's get pro. That's about it. And we have everything in place. Now, how is that we're going to call dial a number? Now, let me go back to the slides. Now, guys, you all can see we are dealing with 2 intents. That happens to be the implicit and explicit intent. Now, here you are calling something called as an implicit intent. Implicit intent is when the target component is not defined in the intent, and the Android system has to evaluate the registered components based on the intent data. That means you really don't know whom you're calling. Now, anybody can give you the service from any point of time, meaning you can call completely a different application, different activity to get your work done. For example, when you're calling, I said that I'm going to use a dialer, and anyway, eventually I'm going to come to the web view, I'm going to bring in the statement also. So at that point of time, if I have to call a dialer, dialer happens to be a different component. Now I want to use that component to dial the phone. Now, if I have to call the Edureka.co, action view happens to be a different component. Now I want to call that component to display the web view, that is your Edureka.co. Is that right? So I don't know whom I'm calling and who is going to help me, who's going to render my job. And that is when I'm going to call the implicit intent. All right. Now, even before you guys learn how to call implicit intent, it would be a good idea to learn how to call an intent from your application, right? Now, what it is, how it looks like even to call an intent. Now, just before this, I will show you how to call an intent, and I will come back to this. Now, then the things will be more clearer to you. Now, first, I'm going to do this. In this case, you're giving intent I is equal to new intent this comma activity2 class. Now here, you're writing an intent and you're calling an intent and you're placing this pointer there. That means that you're trying to put in your running object, that is your main activity. And then activity2 class is the object that what you intend to call. That means this is the class that what you'll be firing. Now, before firing, you want to send a message to activity2 class. So what is that you're going to do? You are going to use i.putExtra. In that, you have the key value pairs. The value one that what you see inside the codes is the key. And to that, the value what you're going to put is, this is activity2. That is a value what you're trying to put and you're passing it on to the activity2 class. So that you're having two keys, that is value one, value two. It has got two values. And when you call start activity of I, that means you're passing the values also to the activity, second activity. Now, let me break this into a simpler piece for you. Now, let me teach you how to write only two lines, just how to create an intent as you all can see in the first line and how to call the start activity, right? Now, let me do this first and then I will talk about how to pass the message to the other object and how to receive it, right? Now, let me move on to my code. Now in my dial my number, you know what I'm going to do? Or let me take toast. In my toast, let me create an intent. Intent. Now I'm just creating my intent. Intent is equal to new intent. Now I'm just creating a new intent. Right. Now here, I'm going to give it this pointer. To be very explicit, let me say main activity dot this. When I'm giving this pointer, I'm being very clear that this pointer belongs to the main activity. Now, I want to call the other activity. So to call the other activity, we don't have the other activity here, right? So let me create yet another activity called as the other activity. Guys, you know what? I told you all the manifest is a very important part of your application. The manifest in turn will keep all the information of the application. This is what I've told you. So let me take you to the manifest. Now in manifest, I'm going to go really deep into it as we start progressing with our application. Now here you have the application. This I'll be talking about it later. Now to tell you in brief, this application class happens to be the super class to your activity. He happens to be the parent for your activity. Now this we'll be discussing in the next sessions. Now allow backup also, you will get a good insight when you all learn the DDMS so that the file system, the file manager, now you can take a backup of that guy and that will happen later. Now here, what kind of an icon you want to associate with your application? Now in my MIP map, you all can see this MIP map. In my MIP map, I have got a couple of icons, ready-made icons. We want to pick one right from there. Now that is what you have picked, that is IC Launcher. And what should be the name of your application? Now here it is called as the app name, that is all there in string. Now I can call that as intent also if I want. And now support RTL, I'll talk about it later. Now the theme, in fact, when we come to material design and we're going to go deep into it. So till then, you just bear with me. And then comes the activity. Now when you all see the activity, you're starting the activity or ending the activity, and then the name of your application is the main activity. Like what you have created is what you all can see here. Now, when you created the application, all this has been generated by your Android, right? Android Studio. Now, whenever you create an activity, it has an intent filter. In intent filter, you have three data types. That's what I have shown you while explaining. That is what I said, the action, category, and data. The data is in between, which is not shown to you as of now, but I'm going to bring it in later. Now, in action, now this main activity happens to be the default activity. That means it is the launching kind of an activity. So it is called as the main. And in category, we'll say it is the default, and that happens not a default, this happens to be the launcher. Meaning this is the, now if you have 10 activities in this particular application, now this is the application which kick starts everything. That is what is that you're trying to say in the category, right? This is what we have done. Now I want to create one more activity just because we want to call that, right? So I right click on my package. I'll go to new. Now I'll go to my activity. Now I'll click on my empty activity. So there I'm going to call this as other activity. This is the name that what I'm going to give, and I'll say finish. Now you all see the other activity is created. Now there's an XML file for other activity. Now you know what, just for my laziness, I'll go to this guy, I'll fetch this text view, and I'll come to the other activity, and I'm just going to copy it there because I just want to say that you have been called from the other activity or something like that in text area. Okay, from activity. Now let me say hi from other activity. Now this is what you want to say. When you guys land in here, this is what you want to see. So we have the text view also here. Now text view other text view. Okay, so this in turn will clarify and there is no confusion with us. All right. So now I'm going back to the main activity, and here I'm going to call the other activity. Right, so you all can see other activity. Now I'm just going to bring this in dot class. Now it's a class file, it's a Java class file. That's what it gets compiled with. And now I'm going to call my start activity because I want to fire the activity, and the intent is where I have the address of my other activity, and I'm giving this intent. So what exactly this line does? Now this intent, in turn, you're giving the current application's address. This in turn is going to fire the other activity dot class. Now this is where you guys are going to jump into, and when you start this, when you click on the toast, and you're actually toasting, meaning you're firing another activity. So obviously you guys are going to be there in the other activity. Now this is what is the meaning of intent. The intent in turn will help you to call the other activity or to call any of the activities. Down the line, we are going to explore quite a lot about intent. Now, intent happens to be the central nervous system of the Android, and everywhere till the end of the session, you're going to learn many flavors of intent, and you're going to learn quite a lot about intent, and that is what we have started exploring as of now. Now, let me click and let me just run the program and see if you all can land in the other activity when you click on the toast button, right? So, aren't you serious about this? Aren't you curious? So let's see if this line works. Now when this line works, I can move on to the other explanation. Now none of the buttons are activated because we have nothing in these buttons. Only toast, we have some hopes on toast because when you click on toast, the control is going to come here to toast, and here you're trying to launch the other activity right from the toast, and obviously you're not going to see the screen from this activity. You're jumping on to the other activity completely. Watch. You all can see that you're here in the other activity. It is called as hi from the other activity. Now I'll take you back to the manifest. Now what exactly you can see here, what kind of changes that you can see here. Now the Android has inserted one more line, that activity again, dot other activity, this guy has inserted. Now this is the body. Now anyway, this intent filter is not created because we just created a very simple and empty activity. So the intent filter is not there. Later on, I'm going to bring in the intent filter, and I'm going to show you what exactly that means and how exactly to add the intents. Okay, meaning the intent filters, we'll talk about it later. Now, let me go back to my code. So this program is working. Now, let me go to the other activity. You know what? I just want to teach you something. Because I use the word toast, let me also show you the toast. I'll just say toast and I'll just scroll down to the last bar. I'll click enter. Now I told you these are two ways. One is I can call other activity.this, or even this is okay. Now here I can say any message landed in other activity. You know what? This toast is going to stay for a couple of milliseconds. That is the behavior of the toast. Now, whenever you set the alarm in your program, the toast will appear and it stays for a few seconds, and that is what exactly is going to happen here. And this toast dot length short, in fact, this is going to delay by a few milliseconds. Length long is going to give little more, a longer time, all that is negligible. We cannot calculate or we cannot say in so many milliseconds the toast is working. This is just the arbitrary time that it delays down to. And then it is showing it on the screen. Now let me run this code all over again just to see. As soon as you guys land in the other application, you will get to see a toast message also right here. Now here, it'll take me to the first activity. Now, when I click on the first activity, it has to take me to the second activity. Yeah, when I click on toast, it has to take me there. Then you have to see a toast also. Watch the toast here landed in other activity. All right. So guys, you have learned toast also. So you have learned two things you have learned as of now. That is, you have learned how to create an intent and how to fire the intent so that it starts the other activity. Guys, is that clear to you? Do you have any questions here at this point? So you guys are clear with this concept. So let me move on to the next way of looking at the intent. Now let me show you how to use the implicit intent that, in fact, when we all saw that in the slide, that is looking a bit cryptic to you. Now let me demystify that. Now, you know what? I can again say intent, and I can again call my handle intent. Intent1 is equal to. Now I'll say new intent. Now till now, you have learned that this address of the current activity and the other activity you have to give. Now, I'm not interested in calling my other activity. I want to call a different component which is mounted in my Android. I want to call one of the component that happens to be the dialers, right? Now, you know what I'm going to use? I'm going to use something called as intent dot, and I'm going to call my action dial. It's right there. I'm going to call the action dial. Now, to dial the number, let me say I want to dial my number. I want to dial my phone, right? So to dial, I have to give the data. The data has been given in URI parse, and inside this, you all can see this, right? The remark, inside this, we are going to give the data in form of a string. Now let me click on that, and I'm going to give my phone number here. Just before I give the phone number, it is a mandate for me to give my TEL colon. Now this is the data type that what you saw in yours. This is the specific data type that what you saw in the slide, and this is the action that what you saw in the slide, right? Now, as of now, I told you that you're trying to call a component right from the Android, and that is the action. And in about a minute, I'm going to demystify this to you. Now, just hang on to this as of now. Try to understand it is calling one of the components in Android, and here you're trying to give the phone number. When you're trying to give the phone number is identified by TEL colon. If you do any typos or any mistakes here, your application will not work. Now, let me give you my phone number. This is my phone number, right? Now, that's about it. And then, you know what, I'm going to call my start activity, and I'm going to call my intent. All right, that's about it. You know what should happen now? Now, whenever you, sorry, I did everything on show location. It should have been on my dialer, right? So I've given everything in the dialer. Now, when I run the program and when I click on the dialer button, and this in turn should open up a dialer for me, right? Now, the most interesting question here is, did you write the dialer program? Does it belong to you? The answer is no. It's a part of your, it's a component. It's no. Dialer happens to be an Android component, right? You're calling a component. That means an application that can give service to any other applications is what you're trying to call. Now, having said this, the other immediate question that what will ring in your mind is, can we create our own component? Is what is the next immediate question what will ring in your mind. Oh, can I make my program also generic? Can somebody use my program also the way that I'm using the action dial? Guys, this is where we are getting to. So to get to this particular point, we have to traverse through some simple process, and then it becomes very easy for you to understand how to get there, right? Now, let us see how this program works. Now, by clicking on the dial number, let me see if my application can call the dialer. Now, you know what? If you're running this, compiling this application on your device, and when you run, and you can really dial. You can dial and talk to the person, right? That is all that you can do. And you're calling one of your dialer components. Let me click on the dialer. That's it. Now you all can see the phone number is already there. The dialer is already there for you. And all you have to do is click on this, and this is going to place a call. And this is mimicking as though it is calling. As I told you, the emulator cannot do all such things. So for this, you need the real-time device, so that this in turn will place the call and the call will get generated, right? Now, this is how you guys can call the dialer, and this is how you can dial out a number from your application. That means it's a different component that is sitting, and you're calling the component, and you passed the data to the component, and the component in turn dialed it for you. Guys, is this clear? Do you have any questions with this? Can I quickly see yes if you all are clear with this? And please tell me no if you're not. Yeah, great. Thank you so much. So we have learned how to dial a number, and we have learned how to toast, and that means you have learned how to move on to a different this thing, application altogether, right? So that's what you guys have seen. Now, you would be curious to know how to write a couple of other things, like how to call a couple of other components. Now, let me write one more program. This is going to be a kind of contradictory, and you may wonder what's happening, and you may have a lot of doubts by end of this, but intentionally I'm doing it. Now, I'm going to bring in an intent, and I'm going to bring in my intent2 is equal to new intent. Now this is what you have to bring in. Now I'm going to bring in an intent dot. Now for a change, I'm not going to use the dial. I'm going to use the action view. Now you all may think, oh my God, this guy is calling yet another component, right? Now, how is that? What is that he's going to do with it? Now, you know what? I want to call a component called as, this is a generic component. Now, this component can belong to many of others also. I'll explain that to you clearly in a short while from now. Now, again, to use, I have to give my URI parser, and this is where I have to give the data. Now, the label itself sounds exciting to you, that is show location, right? Now, let me ask for the location. Just to ask for the location, I have to say geo. This is a must, and you have to give this geo just in case if you want to bring in the map right there. Now, but having said this, let me see if I have my applications right here. Yeah, thank God I have one of the applications here. So I can quickly go grab the location from him. Location tracker, okay, I just wanted the latitude and longitude. This guy does not have it. So, okay. Now, you know what? Let me go do that quickly. I'll go to Google Map. Okay, yeah, I'm already there. All right. So I'm there in the Google Maps. Here I'll say Bangalore High Court, and I just want to go there. All right. So it takes me right here, and I'll right click here, and it says what's here, and that is where you can see the latitude and longitude. Oh, I can take it from here, or I can even grab it from here. Now this is what I wanted. Instead of keying in the number, this becomes too cryptic. It may take me to some other place, right? So it's always a good idea to copy it from here. Now let me click here. Yeah, so I've copied. So there's a junk also along with this. Not a problem. Now I'm going to go back to my application, and I just wanted, no, I don't want this. I'm just going to close this, and I just wanted my location, right? So Control V. I copied it. Now the Z I'll remove. Now this is my latitude, and this is my longitude, right? So you know what? I can even give the zoom position also. Now I can put a question mark, and I can give a zoom position is equal to 3. Zoom in a little bit and try to get me as close as possible to high court. Is what is that I'm requesting this guy. Okay, no, that's what it is. And I'm going to start my activity, and I'm going to call my intent2. All right, guys. Now you would have understood that, oh, to call the Google map, I have to use action view. To call the phone, I have to use action dial, right? No, not really true. To call the phone, you can use action dial. To call the Google map, we can use action view. To call the notepad, I can use action view. To call so many other things, maybe the web services, I can call the action view. And to call my Chrome, I can use the action view. So please do not get deceived by looking at action view. This action view is not really bounded to your Google map. In fact, it can be used in so many other places. And now this intents, this is what you call it as the implicit intent. And this, whoever is overriding the action view, and everybody is called. Now, not only the Google map, your web page, your Chrome, everybody is using the action view. So when you call this, and everybody should get called, but the point here is you gave geo colon. This is where everything got narrowed down, and it called only the Google map. It didn't call your notepad, it didn't call your web view, it didn't call your Chrome or whatsoever it is. By giving this tag, you narrowed it down. Now let's take a look at this as of now, and I'm going to clarify this a little more after you see the code working. I'm going to explain, I'm going to go deeper into this intent.actions now. Now, where are we? We are in show location. Let me click on the show location. Now, this guy, the emulator, you know what? We installed it fresh, and this emulator is asking for all the sign-in, add account, who are you, all those you will ask for. And finally, if I give all my authentication, and he's going to take me to the Google, and he's going to show me that. Now, let me say, now he's asking for all my credentials. He says try to use email. So he is asking for all the informations, and all right, so let me push this guy. Okay, I agree. Yes, and I just want to see the map. Please don't delay, come back as soon as possible. And okay, it's all on. Now, once if you have been using the emulator, it will not be a problem. Right, so guys, you all are able to see the Google map, and there you are, and you're in Bangalore. And as I double click, and I can go get close to your marker. Now that's where you are, right? So let me, somewhere here it is showing the marker, and okay, so that is how it takes me to the map. I'm not really keen on where we are going, and we just got the marker, and I'm just trying to take you to the high court, and I'm trying to get the Google map, and that's how you all got the Google map. Now, just to use the action view all over again, let me use this just to explain, just to make you understand. The action view is a common scenario, right? Now here, you know what you guys saw. Instead of this, let me bring in Edureka, right? So this is what you guys saw, isn't it? Now let me see, let me go back. Now URI parser and http://www.edureka.co. Is it right? So let me go there. Now let me say http://www.co. Now this is where I want to get to. Now again, guys, watch. He is also using action view. I am also using action view. I am requesting, hey, please, any of the browsers, guys, can you please get me to edureka.co is what you're requesting your browsers, right? So let me change this to 3. Now here, I'm trying to tell you, watch, even the browsers like Chrome or ... is using intent.action view, right? So here in this case, even your even not the browsers, let me say, in this case, who is using the map, right? Control V. Even the Google map is using the view, right? And even the Chrome is using the view. No, this is where you guys will get to understand, oh, so many of them, they're using the view, is it? Yes, you know what? End of the line, we'll be using the view in our own application. That is where we are getting to. That is where I'm making the things even more exciting for you all. Now let me run, and let me go to the open web page. And if everything is right, now this is the specific data type that what you guys have learned. Now I can give Chrome com also, or I can give Edureka also. Now where you have to be, you have to click on open web page. Now let me click on open web page, and if everything is all right, now because this is the brand new stuff, and I'll say hello. Now he is asking me for all the credentials because it's a new emulator that what I'm creating, and he is there. Now can you all see this http edureka.co, and he took you right in there, and this is the Edureka web page that you all have landed in, right? Now Edureka is a different portal, that's a different web page, and you in fact opened it using one of the browsers, that one of the browsers had the action view in them, and you said, hey guys, can you help me to open edureka.co? That is what you requested, and you don't even know whom you requested with, and whoever had the action view, your message has been sent, your request has been sent to all the guys who are having the action view, and one of them, that fellow had, that is a Chrome browser, and he said, hey, I can do this work for you, because Chrome browser identified the specific. This is what is specific. HTTP is specific, geo is specific, telephone is specific. They will identify this, and if it is related to me, if it is my kind of a work, now HTTP is the Chrome kind of a work, and he executed this for you. Now geo happens to be the Google map work. Now you may ask me a question. Oh, if I add geo, what will happen? No, nothing will happen. Your application is going to crash when I click on show location, because it is not, nobody will understand the geo, right? So many things. Even the Google map will not understand. So obviously there is an error in the URI that what you're trying to pass, and you're going to get into trouble, right? When you click on the show location. So guys, that is where I told you this specific type, the data type that what you're using is very important. Now show location, that has to create a disaster for you all now, right? So look at this. Unfortunately, my first app has stopped, and Android throws an error, and that is where everything stops, because this is what went wrong. The typo, nobody understood what you're trying to say, right? When you are using geo, and the map will immediately understand, he will respond. When you're using HTTP, the Chrome will respond, right? Now you're going to ask me, let me put our doubts here. Can we create own our own data type, like TEL colon GEO colon? Is it right? Then what else you saw? Then HTTP colon, right? My answer is yes. You know what? Let me show you how to create my streamer as the data type. Right, this my streamer is going to be like one of the types. I'm going to come there. I'm going to show you. Just before this, I just want to, my last explanation, I just want to explain with one more view, because you have been so curious, and you had all the patience to stay with me, so that I just want to break the thaw. I want to break the ice in showing the meaning of intent view. Now watch the fun now. I'm going to copy this. Now this is the fun part, and just for the heck of it, and I'm going really wild all over, and I'm just going to say, I don't care for all this. What if I call only this action view? Now, the way that you have been explaining me so far, this is what you guys will be thinking. Now, because the geo map had the action view, the maps came in, and the Chrome had the action view, the Chrome came in, because you gave the right data type. If you don't give the right data type, now the can geo also appear here? Can Chrome also appear here? Whoever is overriding the action view, will everybody appear here in front of me, is what is the question, right? Now, will all the apps which is imbibing view, will it appear on screen now? Okay, that is what is your question. Is it right, guys? Now, so far I've been explaining, you all understood. Now I told you anybody can override the action view. If this is a case, now can I see the map coming up? Can I see the Chrome coming up? Can I see a lot of other application coming up on my screen? Is what is that I'm trying to ask myself when I click on intent view. Now this is the greatest of the time, that this is the best part of the time that you all are having now. Now you will understand the meaning of action view, because I have not given any specific data type. This in turn will call for the confusion. You're calling the view, but there's no data type. So everybody is going to show up and asking you, can I help you? Can I give you a service? Is what is that everybody is going to ask you. Now let me click on the view intent, right? So can you all see this, guys? Now you can see maps, you can see application hardware preferences, you can see calendar, you can see so many other applications. All right. Now, you know what, this other activity is one of my activity, calendar. When I click on calendar, it is going to take you right into the calendar. So whichever so many applications is coming up and it is taking you right into that application. Now I'll say just once and you're there right in the calendar, right? No, anyway, the calendar is not there because it's not there in this emulator because it is a brand new one, right? So anyway, so this is how the view intent in turn is going to show all the application. It is going to bring up all the applications. Now guys, do you have any questions? Now we have almost come to the fag end of the session by using the intent, and I'm going to show you all like how to call my own component. How to call the component is what is that we are going to see now. You know what, I'm going to make a small change. Before that, I just want to know if you're clear with the concept. Can I quickly see yes if you guys are clear with the concept? All right, great. So you're with me and you're able to appreciate the flow. Now let me go to the last part of the thing, that is your let's get professionals. You know what? I've been telling you the action view is used by so many guys. How is that they'll be using this action view is what would be the next question, what will be racing in your mind. Now we have to create that for our own selves, isn't it? Now watch what I am going to do in my manifest. Now I told you in manifest I can bring in my intent filter. Now let me copy this. Now in my other activity I am bringing in my intent filter. Now in action, now this is the package name. I can copy this. Now instead of Android intent action main, I'm going to copy the package name. Then I'm going to give my other activity to it. Now people can call me by this package name also, right? This is something that what I'm trying to say. Now instead of launcher, I'm going to say dot default. Now watch this. This is beautiful way of writing program, very professional way of writing program. Now I'm going to take you right there. Now here you all saw this, right? Now I'm just going to add one more line here. Now let me bring this in here and paste it. Instead of calling this intent action view, and I'm going to do something very funny and very different, and this will be mind-blowing. Watch this. What I'm going to do now is I'm going there. Now this is the application name, isn't it? I'm just trying to get this package name. This is what I call it as action, right? Guys, do you remember you saw the PowerPoint and you all saw action and you saw something called a specific, or of which this is what you call it as action. Now I'm going to go into the intent and I'm just going to give this. No, I'm not going to call. No, earlier, what did you learn? You have to call your application like this. You have to call by the activity, the current activity, and then the other application name. Now, what I'm trying to do, I'm just trying to call my application using the package. Now, if I know the package across the process boundaries, and this in turn is going to fire the application across the process boundaries. Now, guys, this is where you guys are getting closer to the component. You're getting closer to the component, meaning you give any package name across the process boundary and this guy in turn has to execute it. Now let us watch. Now we are at Let's Get Pro, and this is the first step, and then we have got one more step to go. Let's Get Pro. Watch this, and it calls your other activity and it's a success. And you all can see that it called your activity just by using this. Now, my next question is this. Can I call my activity? How is that I can imbibe, rather, how is that I can imbibe the action view? So when somebody calls, my application also should show up, other activity also should show up, is the next question. Now guys, you know what I'm going to do? Now while creating action, watch, I'm going to create an action. This is what I told you. I can create action category data. Now I can create an action. Now here, let me create the action. Now inside this action, let me create a name, right? So inside the name, I'll create Android intent. Now you all can see this view. I'm going to imbibe this view right in there. Now by imbibing this view in my program, you know what? I'm going to copy this. No, not necessary. I'll put a remark to this. Now I'll copy this and I'll paste it here. Now I'm going to call this guy as 5 or 6. Let me say 6. Now watch carefully. Now among the application, your other activity also will be an application. It is going to pop up because you imbibed the view in your manifest, because you overrided the view in your as a part of the action. So when anybody calls the action view, your application should also pop up. That is the whole idea behind it. Now let me show you that. Let's get pro. Now watch, open with calendar, my first app. Look at this. This is your my first app. It is already there. And you have the other activity. Now this other activity is completely a different application. Now this is not the activity you're looking at. This is small letter row and this is capital letter row. It's completely a different application. Now your my first app is coming there and I'm going to click on that and it is going to call your other activity, right? This is from the other activity. Now this is what you called, is it right? And that is how you can imbibe the view right in the manifest. Here you imbibe the view and now among the application, your application 2 will turn up and you can call your application just by having the view. Now this is what is called as the explicit intents. When you declare, now you're trying to tell the world that you can give a service. Now if anybody wants to do anything, this is the job that what I can do. Now when you go to gallery and when you click on the photograph, now a lot of other applications like email, WhatsApp, a lot of applications will come up. Meaning it says that, hey, do you want me to mail your photograph? Do you want me to send it in WhatsApp? What is it you want to do? Like every application has a behavior. So as your other activity also has a behavior, now wherein you can even print the documents or the pictures or whatever that is your characteristics. Now when the people clicks on your application and you can carry out your work. And this is how you guys can create a generic component. You know what? In my next session, I'm going to show you, I'll be deleting this main activity. I'm going to copy this program in a different name. I'm going to call this as other activity. I'll delete the main activity. And when I run the first application, this other activity also comes up the way that you're watching it now. All right. So this is how you guys can call the activities, meaning in various different forms, you can use the intent. And now if you want to pass the data to the other activity as the last thing that you have seen in the slide, let me say intent 6. We are using intent 6 dot put, right? Now you have put extra. You can put the key value pair into it. There is a name and Boolean value. Now let me say put extra. You have the key value also in it. You can pass and let me bring that in. Intent source, where is that? Now let me take you to the slide. This is the last thing. Now guys, you understood this is the action and this is the specific stuff. Now this I will teach you in the next class, like how to write my own streamer. I'm going to teach you how to do it so that you'll be streaming the videos and all that through your own codecs and through your own streamers is what is that you guys are going to see. And here, put extra, you have the key and value pair. Now that is what you want to do. Now let me go back and this happens to be the last part of your code. Put extra. No, why is that? Dot put extra. Yeah. Now I'll say, let me call this as key and let me call this as value. Okay. Value is my data is all that I'm trying to put here. And now, you know what, when you call intent 6, now this guy in turn is going to receive. Now, when that guy is going to receive, now you have to you have to evaluate if the data is coming in or not, isn't it? Now I have passed the data. Now what I have to do here is you have to receive the data. So to receive the data, I'm going to use bundle. Now in the later stage, I'm going to go more deeper into bundle. Now I'm going to use the variable is equal to get intent. Okay, get intent dot. Now the extra data that what you have given is being obtained from here, and that you are taking it into bundle. All right. Now next what you want to do is you want to give the key and you want to get the value out, isn't it? Now I will say bundle dot. Now I'll ask for get string. Now see, he's asking for the key. Now what is the key? Key is the key because I want to remember it the way it is, right? Now this guy in turn is going to bring the data for me. Now string str, and he's going to bring the data. Now what I can do here is I can even display it on text view, or I can display it in toast. Now let me do that. Toast is much easier for me. Now let me bring it in toast. You guys can try it out, bringing the text view and displaying it right there. Now here I'm going to bring in my str. Okay, so this in turn is going to display the key. First it says landed in other activity, then you all can see the value being received here and the value being displayed here. Now let me run this. Guys, you have come a long way with the intents, and so slowly what is that you have to understand here is your activity is just not an activity. It has got enormous power to it, and your activity is a component, and that can be used by the other application across the process boundaries even without doing much of the work. And that is what that you guys have to understand. Now let me see where this guy is hiding. Yeah, he's right here. Let me pull this guy up. Now I'm going to click on Let's Get Pro, and now what? Yeah, I'm going to click on my first tab. Now here, when I click on this, you have to land in our first tab. Now landed in other activity. Value is my data. Now it is showing the data. Now that is the value that what you passed right from the other activity, right? Now this is where you pass the value. Now you can pass any value that you want. You can pass objects also to, but we need to use the pass level and so on and so forth. We can even pass the objects. Now this in turn can be across the, please do remember guys, the activity that what you're writing, it is in a process boundary. Nobody can touch your data. Now if you want to pass the data to completely to yet another application, yeah, this intent in turn will work, right? That is where I told you the intent happens to be the most powerful stuff that what you guys can find in Android. And this is not the end of your intents. In fact, in next session, I'm going to continue and I'll be teaching you how to create the remote components and how to call like your dialers, like your geo, that is going to be your own component, and how to call those components right from your application. So now let us quickly go back and see where we have come. Now let me take you slightly up. You all have seen the implicit intent and explicit intent. An intent can carry data bundle to perform an activity. Yeah, you saw that. For example, if an activity has to launch an email operation, we can use an intent action send. Yeah, email guy will identify that. Now we have to talk about implicit and explicit intent. There, this is the implicit intent. You saw the action and the specific stuff. Now, I haven't really taught you how to create our own specific, like the video streamers or anything that you want to create in your component, that I haven't touched upon. And as the slide says, I have taught you how to use the URI parse. Now this URI parse can be your own URI parse like my streamer, that I'm going to cover in the next session. So this is what you learned at the implicit intent. And this is how you learned how to call another activity. This is how you learned how to pass the value to the other activity. You can pass as many key value pairs you want. And that's about it, guys. We have come to the end of the session. So please do let me know if you have any doubts, and the session is open for the discussion, right? If you really want to discuss anything, I'm here. I'll unmute you guys and you all can have fun discussing the complete session, and I can walk you through. And if you come up with various doubts and questions, I can quickly write programs and I can show you. and I will take you through this session. All right, so now take a call and ask me to unmute, or if you have any questions, you can please type it out in your questions panel. All right, guys, I hope that you had an interesting session. I hope that you all really enjoyed this session, because this happens to be the most important session in Android, and you have learned about 80% of the intent. Then other 20% is even more important that I'll be covering up in the next sessions. So it's time for us to sign out for the day. Take care till then.
I hope you enjoyed listening to this video. Please be kind enough to like it, and you can comment any of your doubts and queries, and we will reply to them at the earliest. Do look out for more videos in our playlist and subscribe to our Edureka channel to learn more. Happy learning!